Welcome to Vivid Audiobook's channel. In this video, I will reveal to you the secret to resetting your emotions. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. You are about to enter one of the simplest, fastest, and most effective techniques for rebooting your mind. A technique that takes only 10 minutes, yet can switch off anxiety, silence anger, and rebuild your inner center. Instantly and repeatably, every day. What you will hear here is not theory, but a practical mental tool that gives you control when others lose it and calm when everyone else is in chaos. This book is your path to a mind capable of rapid emotional shutdown, calm reboot, and complete control of your inner world. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Shut your mind down. Before it explodes, your mind has a breaking point. You may not see it. You may not feel it coming, but it's there, building, rising, tightening, until suddenly you can't carry one more thought, one more demand, one more emotion. And when that moment arrives, everything collapses at once. Anger takes over, anxiety hijacks your breath, impulse replaces intention, you lose control. This chapter exists to stop that collapse before it happens. Because the truth is simple. You can shut your mind down before it explodes, and you must. You can't keep living at the edge. You can't keep reacting. You can't keep pretending your emotional threshold is limitless. It isn't. No one's is. Here is the first principle of deep emotional control. The earlier you interrupt the internal storm, the easier it is to win. Most people wait too long. They wait until the anxiety is already consuming them. They wait until the anger is already boiling. They wait until the stress has already taken their breath. They wait until the mind explodes, and then they wonder why their life feels chaotic. You won't make that mistake again. Not after this chapter, because from now on, you will learn to detect the first spark. You will learn to interfere early. You will learn to pull the plug before the system overloads. And it begins with a decision, your decision. I choose control before crisis. Say it again. Make it a command. I choose control before crisis. That single choice is your first tool. It's your mental switch. It's your reset point. And most importantly, it reminds you that you always have a say. You're not a hostage to your emotions. You are not at the mercy of adrenaline. You're not stuck in reactive patterns. You have a choice. Always. Remember this phrase and let it echo through this entire chapter. You always have a choice. Now let's get practical. There is a moment, tiny, fragile, almost invisible, right before an emotional explosion. Most people never notice it, but you will. Because that moment is the window where real control lives. Not after the anger erupts. Not after the anxiety spreads. Not after the panic takes hold. Control lives in the moment before the explosion. And here's the secret. Your body often warns you before your mind does. A tightening in your jaw, a shallow breath, a spike in your chest, a sudden rush of heat, a shift in your posture, a drop in your patience. These signals are not random. These signals are not weak. These signals are not to be ignored. They are alarms. And the alarms are telling you, shut the system down now. This is where the discipline begins, because emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about interrupting the cycle before it takes shape. Here's the truth very few people want to face. Your mind does not explode suddenly. It explodes gradually, bit by bit. Thought by thought, trigger by trigger, until the final drop breaks the dam. So your goal, your duty, is to act before the final drop. This is where the first technique comes in. It is simple, it is powerful, it is immediate, and if you apply it consistently, it will change how you handle every emotional challenge in your life. Ready? Technique 1. Freeze the body. Stop the mind. When your emotions start rising, your instinct is to move, talk, react, defend, fight, pace, argue, accelerate. That movement feeds the emotional wave. It accelerates the storm. It gives power to the chaos. So you will do the opposite. You will freeze. You will stop. You will lock your posture in place like stone. Why? Because when the body stops, the mind can't spin as fast. When the body stills, the emotional loop loses momentum. When the body freezes, the crisis loses its fuel. Say it clearly. Stillness is my reset. This is the discipline that separates reactive people from controlled people. Reactive people move with emotion. Controlled people stop emotion by stopping motion. So here is your command. When the emotional pressure begins to rise, even slightly, freeze your body immediately. No movement, no pacing, no gesturing, no collapsing in frustration. Just stop. This stillness is not weakness. This stillness is not silence. This stillness is not surrender. This stillness is control. This stillness is authority. This stillness is power. You are teaching your nervous system that you choose the pace, not adrenaline, not fear, not anger, not panic. And here's the deeper truth behind this technique. Most emotional explosions grow because the body accelerates the mind. But when you stop the body, the mind has to slow down. It must. It has no choice. Which brings us to the next principle. If you can interrupt the body, you can interrupt the mind. This is the beginning of emotional mastery. This is the beginning of inner discipline. This is how you prevent the explosion. Now, is freezing enough? No, it's the first step. But it creates the space you need. It resets the system. It lowers the pressure. It gives you the ability to choose your next move instead of reacting blindly. This brings us to the next layer, your breathing. Technique 2. Collapse the emotional wave with a single breath. When your emotions rise, your breathing becomes short, fast, and chaotic. And chaotic breathing fuels chaotic thinking. So you will use one breath, just one, to interrupt the wave. Here is the command. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Hold for 1 second. Exhale sharply through the mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat once. Not 10 times. Not a full meditation, just once or twice. Why? Because one controlled breath in the middle of emotional chaos sends a shock wave to your nervous system. It flips the switch. It disrupts the spiraling pattern. It brings you back to center. Say it clearly. My breath is my override. This is the moment where your emotional explosion begins to collapse. You feel the pressure break. You feel the tension release. You feel the storm weaken. Because now you're in control. Not the emotion, not the fear, not the anger. You. And this leads us to the final principle of this chapter. The principle that ties everything together. Principle. Control is a choice, and you must choose. Early. You don't wait for the breakdown. You don't wait for the emotional fire to spread. You don't wait for the collapse. You choose control early. You choose stillness early. You choose breath early. You choose clarity early. Why? Because early control is real control. Late control is damage control. This chapter is your wake-up call. Your emotions don't control you unless you let them. Your reactions don't own you unless you surrender. Your mind doesn't explode unless you ignore the warning signs. From now on, you will not ignore them. You will act. You will interrupt. You will shut the system down before it spirals. Because that is discipline. Because that is strength. Because that is the foundation of emotional dominance. And as we move into the next chapter, you'll learn a truth most people never understand. You should never trust your emotions during the storm. You have mastered the spark. Now it's time to confront the storm itself. Chapter 2. Don't trust your feelings in the middle of the storm. Your feelings are not the truth. Your feelings are not the full picture. Your feelings are not the authority on your life, especially not during the storm. This is the chapter most people never hear. Because most people spend their entire lives believing the opposite. They believe that if they feel something, it must be real. If they feel afraid, then danger must be present. If they feel angry, then someone must be wrong. If they feel hurt, then someone must be the villain. They treat emotion as evidence. They treat emotion as fact. They treat emotion as a command. But here is the reality you must accept if you ever want true emotional control. Your feelings during the storm are distorted, exaggerated, and unreliable. Say it again. Feelings in the storm are not facts. When adrenaline spikes, your perception shifts. When anxiety hits, your thinking collapses. When anger rises, your judgment disappears. When fear grows, your focus narrows to the worst possible outcome. Your emotional system evolved to protect you, but the modern world activates it constantly, even when there's no real threat. You're flooded with reaction chemicals your life does not need. You're pushed into survival mode when you're not in danger. You're tricked by your own brain. This is why trusting your feelings in the storm destroys relationships. This is why trusting your feelings in the storm ruins decisions. This is why trusting your feelings in the storm leads to regret. The storm is not the time to interpret. The storm is the time to stabilize. The storm is the time to pause, to hold, to wait. And this is the principle that defines this chapter. You must distrust your feelings when your body is on fire, not because your feelings are invalid, not because your feelings don't matter, but because in the storm they are inaccurate. Every person who has ever acted impulsively has felt 100% sure in the moment, and every person who later regretted their reaction has wondered, how did I believe that? How did I let that feeling control me? How did I get fooled? You will not be fooled again, because now you know the intensity of an emotion does not prove its accuracy. Let me repeat that, because this is the core lesson of Chapter 2. Intensity is not truth, it is only intensity. A loud feeling is not more real than a quiet one. An urgent feeling is not more meaningful than a calm one. A painful feeling is not more honest than a neutral one. Emotion only feels true because it is happening inside you. But that doesn't make it reality. It makes it experience. And experience must be questioned. Experience must be tested. Experience must be held up against logic, discipline, and choice. Here is the mindset shift you must adopt. During the storm, feelings become noise, discipline becomes signal. This is where most people fall. They do the opposite. They trust the noise and ignore the signal. They trust the panic and ignore the plan. They trust the anger and ignore the strategy. That is why their lives spin. That is why their relationships collapse. That is why their confidence disappears. They mistake storm thinking for clear thinking, but not you, not anymore. Because after this chapter, you will learn to anchor yourself in a new rule. Don't trust the storm, trust the protocol. Now let's go deeper. The emotional storm is a neurological illusion. When your heart races, your brain narrows its focus. When your breathing shortens, your thoughts become sharper, but in the wrong way. When your muscles tighten, your judgment compresses. Your brain is preparing for danger that may not exist. This is why people catastrophize. They magnify the threat. They assume the worst. They imagine outcomes that are extreme, unlikely, or impossible. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life. It is trying to protect you. But protection mode is not thinking mode. Protection mode is survival, and survival mode is incompatible with clarity. Which means one thing. When your nervous system is activated, your interpretation of reality becomes unreliable. This is why you must never argue in the storm. Never decide in the storm. Never define a relationship in the storm. Never quit in the storm. Never destroy in the storm. Never trust the storm. Instead, your job during the storm is simple. Hold your position. Freeze the body. Slow the breath. Stop the interpretation. Wait for the clarity that comes after. This leads us to one of the most important rules of emotional mastery, a rule that will save you from countless mistakes. Rule: do not act on a feeling. You would not trust in calmness. If a decision feels urgent only when you're angry, don't trust it. If a conclusion feels true only when you're anxious, don't trust it. If a belief feels real only when you're overwhelmed, don't trust it. If an impulse feels right only when your chest is tight, don't trust it. Ask yourself one question: would I still believe this if my mind were calm? If the answer is no, then the storm is lying to you, and you must refuse to obey. Say it out loud: I don't obey distorted feelings. This is the discipline the strong develop. This is the discipline most never learn. And this is the discipline that protects you from emotional sabotage. Now let's address the deeper issue. Why do you keep trusting the storm? Because the storm feels powerful. The storm feels loud. The storm feels convincing. The storm feels urgent. And urgency tricks you. Urgency pressures you. Urgency demands action. Urgency makes you think you must respond now. But that's the trap. That's the mistake. That's the lie. Because urgency in emotion is almost never real urgency. It's just intensity pretending to be importance. You need to internalize this. Emotional urgency is not a command. It is a chemical. And chemicals do not deserve control of your life, which brings us to the next principle. Your job in the storm is not to understand the feeling. Your job is to outlast it. Clarity comes after insight, comes after. Perspective comes after. Wisdom comes after. And when the storm ends, and it always ends, you will see what was real and what was not. You will see what mattered and what didn't. You will see who meant harm and who didn't. You will see which thoughts were lies and which were truth. You will see what the storm tried to make you believe. This is where your power begins. Because if you can outlast the storm, you can reshape your entire emotional life. You become the type of person who acts with intention, not reaction. You become the type of person who people trust, because you don't explode. You become the type of person who moves with clarity, because you don't obey chaos. You become the type of person who is centered even when others spin. This chapter is training you for that version of yourself. Now let me leave you with the final message of this chapter. The message that ties everything together. You are not responsible for your first feeling. You are responsible for your first reaction. Feelings will come. Feelings will go. The storm will rise. The storm will fall. But your reaction, that is yours, that is your choice. That is your discipline. That is your power. And in the next chapter, you will learn the first layer of that discipline. How to use your body to interrupt the emotional explosion before it begins. You've learned not to trust the storm. Now you will learn how to break its momentum. Chapter 3. The 10-minute reset. Layer 1. Physical shutdown. Your mind does not spiral on its own. Your emotions do not intensify by accident. Your anxiety does not grow without fuel. And your anger does not rise without support. There's always a trigger, and in most cases, the trigger is not mental, it is physical. This is the truth almost no one understands. Your body is the engine of your emotional storm, not your thoughts, not your beliefs, not your memories, your body, your physiology, your state. If you want to master your emotions, you must first master your physical state. If you want control, you must interrupt the body before the mind follows it into chaos. This chapter is the first layer of the 10-minute reset, the physical layer, the shutdown layer. And here is the principle at the heart of this chapter, the principle that will remain with you for the rest of your life. If you shut down the body, the mind loses its momentum, so say it out loud. Let it sink in. If I shut down the body, the mind slows down. This is not philosophy. This is not motivational talk. This is biology. This is neuroscience. This is how your nervous system actually works. Your body and mind are not separate systems. They are one loop, one feedback circuit, each amplifying the other. Fast breathing creates fast thinking. Muscle tension creates mental tension. Rapid movement creates rapid emotional spikes. Physical chaos creates mental chaos. This is why you overreact. This is why you panic. This is why you spiral. Not because you're weak, but because your body went into overdrive and dragged your mind with it. And here is the good news. Because the body triggers the mind, the body can also calm the mind. This is your entry point. This is your leverage. This is your doorway to emotional dominance. Let's break it down. The body leads. The mind follows. Every emotional explosion begins in the body. Every anxiety spiral begins in the body. Every wave of anger begins in the body. Before the thought comes, the breath changes. Before the reaction forms, the muscles tighten. Before the panic hits, the heart accelerates. You may think the emotion caused the physical change, but it's often the opposite. The physical change creates the emotional intensity. This means something powerful, something freeing. You don't need to solve your emotions. You only need to interrupt your physiology. This is the beginning of physical shutdown. Now let's go to the actionable steps. The steps you will use every single time your emotions rise. Step 1, SAS, freeze the body. Total stillness. The first command of the physical shutdown is simple. Stop moving completely. When your emotions rise, your instinct is to move. You pace, you gesture, you fidget, you pick up your phone, you shift your posture, you release tension through motion. Every one of these movements accelerates emotional intensity. Every movement tells your brain something is wrong. Every movement feeds the storm, so you will do the opposite. You will freeze. Total stillness. Zero movement, as if you pressed a pause button on your body. This is not passive. This is not weak. This is not retreat. This is control. This is dominance. This is authority over yourself. Stillness tells your nervous system, there is no threat, you can calm down now. This is the first breaker switch. Say it clearly. Stillness is my command. Hold your position. Shoulders relaxed, jaw unclenched, hands open, body centered. If you can freeze, you can interrupt the storm. If you can freeze, you can take back control. If you can freeze, you can create a gap. And that gap is where your power lives. Step 2. Deep exhale. Collapse the emotional wave. The second command of the physical shutdown is about breath. Not meditation, not long exercises. Just one clear action. Exhale slowly and fully. Most people try to inhale deeply when stressed, but that's not the solution. A deep inhale can actually increase your alertness. It can worsen the storm. The reset begins with the exhale, a long, controlled release of air that signals your nervous system to deactivate. Here's the technique. Exhale for 6 seconds. Pause. Then inhale naturally. Not deeply. Just a normal breath. Repeat once more. These 2 breaths can shut down 70% of the physical stress response. Say it. My exhale resets my system. This is the second breaker switch. When you master it, storms shrink before they fully form. Step 3. Drop the shoulders. Release the false danger. Most emotional storms are not caused by real danger. They are caused by perceived danger. An argument, a message, a memory, a misunderstanding, an insecurity. Yet your body reacts as if you're being hunted. Your shoulders rise, your chest tightens, your spine curves forward, your muscles prepare to protect you. When your shoulders lift, even slightly, your nervous system receives a biological cue. Prepare for threat. You must reverse this cue, and you reverse it by doing something simple. Drop your shoulders down and back. This single movement tells your body the storm is not real. It lowers heart rate, it widens breath, it resets posture, it signals safety. Say it, I drop the danger. This is the third breaker switch. It is small, it is subtle, but it is powerful. Step 4. The neutral gaze. Disconnect from the trigger. Where you look affects how you feel when you look directly at a trigger. A person, a screen, a message, a stressful object. Your emotional system stays activated. So you will break the loop by redirecting your eyes, not closing them, not staring at the ground, just shifting your gaze to a neutral spot. A wall, a corner, a surface. Something with no emotional meaning attached to it. This breaks the visual trigger. This lowers emotional intensity. This tells your brain, we are stepping out of the storm. Say it. I choose what I see. This is the fourth breaker switch. It disconnects your mind from the source of the reaction. Step 5. The micro reset. Relax one muscle. Your entire body does not need to relax. Only one muscle does. Because relaxing one muscle sends a ripple effect through your entire nervous system. Choose one. Your jaw, your hands, your forehead, your stomach, your neck. Relax it deliberately, softly, intentionally. This micro reset reduces physiological tension. This reduces emotional intensity. This slows your thinking. This opens cognitive clarity. Say it. Relaxing one muscle resets the whole system. This is the fifth breaker switch. And combined with the first 4, it gives you complete physical control. The physical shutdown in 10 minutes when you combine all 5 steps. Stillness. Exhale. Shoulders down. Neutral gaze. Micro reset. You create a physical intervention powerful enough to break nearly any emotional escalation. This is not theory. This is a protocol, a system, a discipline, and discipline is the heart of emotional control. Because remember, it's not about being less emotional, it's about being more disciplined. You don't need less feeling, you need more control, you need more intention, you need more authority over your internal state. This chapter gave you that authority. And now that you understand how to shut down the body, it's time to move to the next layer. The mental shutdown. How to clear the noise inside your head. You've stabilized the physical system. Now it's time to stabilize the mental one. Chapter 4. The 10-minute reset. Layer 2. Clearing the mental noise. Your mind is not your enemy. Your thoughts are not the problem. Your emotions are not the danger. The real problem, the real source of your overwhelm, is mental noise. The rapid, chaotic, unfiltered stream of reactions that floods your mind when your emotions begin to rise. This noise is not intelligence, it is not intuition, it is not awareness, it is survival mode. It is your brain attempting to protect you by generating every possible scenario, danger, possibility, or memory that could help you respond. And the faster your body accelerates, the louder this mental noise becomes. But here is the truth, a truth that almost no one realizes. Mental noise is not reality. Mental noise is momentum. Your thoughts are not increasing because your situation is getting worse. Your thoughts are increasing because your physiology triggered a mental storm, and that storm now produces noise. Fast, emotional, irrational, repetitive noise. You cannot think clearly in this state. You cannot make decisions in this state. You cannot communicate, solve, reflect, or understand anything in this state. Noise is the enemy of clarity. Noise is the enemy of logic. Noise is the enemy of emotional control. And that is why this chapter exists. If Chapter 3 gave you authority over your body, Chapter 4 gives you authority over your mind. This is the second layer of the 10-minute reset. The mental shutdown, the clearing of noise, the dismantling of the storm. and it begins with one principle. You cannot clear your emotions until you clear your thoughts, and you cannot clear your thoughts until you break their momentum. This chapter teaches you exactly how to do that. The mind follows the loudest signal. Your brain is a priority system. It listens to the strongest signal. If the loudest signal is emotion, it thinks emotionally. If the loudest signal is stress, it thinks defensively. If the loudest signal is panic, it thinks catastrophically. Your job is not to fight your thoughts. Your job is to change the signal. Because once the signal changes, the noise begins to fade, and once the noise fades, clarity returns. How do we change the signal? By interrupting the loop. But first, you must understand the loop itself. The 3 layers of mental noise. Mental noise has 3 layers. Each layer builds on the one before it, and if you don't interrupt them, they stack, creating unstoppable emotional pressure. Here are the 3 layers. Layer 1. Narrative noise. This is the first wave. I can't believe this is happening. I don't know what to do. This is too much. What if I can't handle it? This layer is emotional narration, your brain describing your reaction. Layer 2. Interpretive noise. This is the second wave. What does this mean? What if this gets worse? What if I'm making the wrong choice? What if they're judging me? Layer 2 is more dangerous than Layer 1. It turns emotion into interpretation. It creates fear from nothing. Layer 3, catastrophic noise. This is the final wave. The full emotional storm. This will ruin everything. I always mess things up. No one understands me. I can't fix this. This layer transforms fear into inevitability. This is where your mind believes the storm is real, even when it's not. Your job is not to solve these thoughts. Your job is to interrupt the stream before it reaches Layer 3. And there is a method, a simple, precise psychological mechanism that lets you do exactly that. Step 1. Name the noise. Create cognitive distance. You cannot stop mental noise by arguing with it. You cannot reason with it. You cannot debate it. Because noise is not logical. It is automatic. The moment you try to fight it, it becomes stronger. So you will not fight it. You will label it, not analyze it, not interpret it, not judge it. Just label it. Here's the phrase you will use. This is noise. That's all 3 words. Say it internally when your mind begins to race. Say it calmly. Say it with authority. Labeling noise creates something called cognitive distance, a psychological gap between you and your thoughts. This gap weakens the emotional intensity. This gap reduces the power of the thought. This gap slows the momentum. Say it clearly. Naming the noise breaks the loop. Now we go deeper. Step 2. Shrink the storm. The 5-word reduction. Mental noise attacks in long, fast, overwhelming sentences, but those sentences can always be reduced. The longer the thought, the stronger its emotional impact. The shorter the thought, the weaker its emotional force. So here is the technique. Turn every chaotic thought into a 5-word sentence. Example. What if everything goes wrong and I can't fix it? Afraid I will fail again. Or, I can't believe they said that. Maybe they're right about me. Maybe I really can't handle this. Feeling judged and uncertain. 5 words. Maximum. This reduction shrinks the emotional charge. This reduction forces the brain to simplify. This reduction slows the storm. Say it. Reduce the thought. Reduce the power. This is psychological control at its finest. Step 3. Anchor the mind. The single-point focus. Noise cannot survive. Focus. Noise cannot survive precision. Noise cannot survive attention that is directed instead of scattered. So the next step is to anchor the mind onto one simple, neutral point. Choose one. Your breath, your hand, a sound in the room, a fixed object, the feeling of your feet on the ground. Your mind will try to drift, it will try to scatter, it will try to return to the noise. You will not fight the drift. You will simply return to the anchor. Every return weakens the noise. Every return strengthens your control. Every return rebuilds clarity. Say it. My mind follows where I anchor it. This is the sharpening of your mental blade. Step 4. The one truth override. Reset the thinking pattern. Once the noise is weakened, you introduce the final command. A single sentence that breaks the emotional pattern. Not positive, not motivational, not fantasy. A truth. A grounded, neutral truth that ends the storm. Here is the sentence. I can respond after I calm. This sentence does not deny emotion. It does not minimize the situation. It does not pretend everything is fine. It simply shifts your mind from reaction to response, from urgency to clarity, from chaos to control. This is the final breaker switch. This is the mental shutdown. Say it. I choose response over reaction. This is how you reclaim your mind when the physical reset and mental reset combine. Now you have 2 layers. Layer 1, physical shutdown, stillness. Exhale, shoulders down, neutral gaze, micro relaxation. Layer 2, mental shutdown, label the noise, reduce the thought, anchor the mind, override with truth. When these layers combine, the storm collapses. The emotional spiral loses oxygen. The mind regains clarity. This is how you become unshakable. This is how you become grounded. This is how you become someone who does not get swept away by emotional waves. You have learned to control your body. You have learned to control your mind. Now, the next chapter will take you into the 3rd layer. The emotional reset. The method that transforms the emotion itself into power. You've stopped the body. You've cleared the noise. Now it's time to shift the emotion. Chapter 5. The 10-minute reset. Layer 3. Transmuting the emotion, you've calmed the body. You've silenced the mental noise. Now you reach the final layer. The layer most people never learn to access. The emotional layer. This is not the part you suppress. This is not the part you avoid. This is not the part you fight. This is the part you transform, because here is the truth. The truth most self-help never tells you. Emotion is not the enemy. Unprocessed emotion is. Anxiety is not the problem. Blocked anxiety is. Anger is not the problem. Unchanneled anger is. You do not need to eliminate emotion. You need to move it, direct it, transform it. Emotion is energy. Raw, unrefined, powerful fuel. And if you don't give that energy direction, it explodes inward. This chapter teaches you how to reverse that explosion. This chapter teaches you how to turn emotional force into emotional mastery, how to take panic and reshape it into clarity, how to take anger and redirect it into power, how to take overwhelm and convert it into precision. And it begins with one irreversible truth. Emotion is physical before it is psychological. You feel it before you interpret it. You feel it before you name it. You feel it before you understand it. That feeling, the tight chest, the heat in the face, the shaking hands, the knot in the stomach, that is not weakness, that is energy. And if you do not channel that energy, it becomes chaos. But if you do channel it, if you give it direction, it becomes strength. In this chapter, you will learn the 4 steps to emotional transmutation. Not suppression, not denial, not distraction, transformation. Let's begin. Step 1. Identify the emotional signal. Without adding story, your body sends you a feeling. You give it a story. That is how emotion becomes suffering. The key is to separate the two. Here's the rule. Name the feeling. Do not explain it. 2 words. That's it. Feeling pressure? feeling anger, feeling uncertainty, feeling fear, feeling sadness, feeling shame. Not because of what they said, because I can't fix this, because everything is going wrong, because I'm not good enough. No. Stop adding story, stop adding interpretation, stop adding past memories and future predictions. Name the feeling. Do not narrate it. Why? Because naming creates clarity, narrating creates chaos. Say it clearly. Emotion is sensation, not identity. You're not an anxious person. You're a person feeling anxiety in this moment. That distinction is psychological freedom. Now we go deeper. Step 2. Sink into the feeling. Don't resist, don't analyze. Once you identify the emotion, you do something counterintuitive. You enter it, you lean into it, you breathe inside it. Emotion is like a wave. The more you resist it, the harder it crashes. But when you stop resisting, when you allow the feeling to exist without fighting it, the wave weakens. You are not giving up. You are not surrendering. You are not letting it control you. You are simply letting it move. Here is the phrase you will use. Let it be here. Say it softly inside your mind. Let the tightness be here. Let the heat be here. Let the pressure be here. Let the trembling be here. Not forever. Just for now. Just for this moment. You're not feeding the emotion. You're letting it pass. Because emotion is a signal, not a prison. When you let the body feel without resistance, the emotion begins to lose its force. It dissolves because you are no longer fueling it with fear. Remember, resistance prolongs emotion. Allowance dissolves emotion. Now, once the feeling becomes manageable, once the emotional wave stops growing, you move to the next step. Step 3. Extract the message. Every emotion has a function. This is the key to emotional mastery. Every emotion is trying to do something for you, not to you. Emotion is not chaos. Emotion is communication. Anger is saying, a boundary was crossed. Anxiety is saying, you're moving too fast. Overwhelm is saying, you're carrying too much. Frustration is saying, something needs to change. Sadness is saying, something needs to be released. Shame is saying, you're misaligned with your values. Once you see emotion as a message, you stop fearing it. Instead, you extract it. Ask this question. What is this feeling trying to tell me? Not what your thoughts say, not what your insecurities say, not what your past says, not what the noise says, what the feeling itself is signaling. Emotion simplified into message, message simplified into action. This is the turning point. This is where emotion begins to shift from tension to clarity. Step 4. Channel the emotion. Turn it into actionable power. Now you have the signal. Now you have the message. What do you do with it? You convert it. You redirect it. You channel it into a constructive, intentional, deliberate action. Here's the rule. Emotion becomes power when it becomes direction. If the emotion says, you're overwhelmed, the action is to simplify. If the emotion says, you're angry, the action is to set a boundary, make a decision, or step back. If the emotion says, you're anxious, the action is to slow down, breathe, and reduce speed. If the emotion says, you're frustrated, the action is to change your approach or adjust your expectations. Emotion becomes a compass. Emotion becomes a guide. Emotion becomes a resource. Most people try to escape emotion. You're learning to use it. Say it with authority. Emotion is fuel when directed. This is the final layer of the reset. This is how you end the 10-minute process in a state of clarity and mental authority. Emotion, message, action. This is mastery. And once you complete this process, something extraordinary happens. You no longer fear emotion. You no longer drown in emotion. You no longer become controlled by emotion. You become its interpreter, its director, its transformer. This is the quiet power, the grounded power, the controlled power, the power of someone who understands themselves fully. Together, the three layers form the full reset layer. On physical, stop the body, break the physiological escalation. Layer 2, mental silence the noise, break the cognitive spiral. Layer 3, emotional transform the emotion, break the internal storm. This is how you reset your entire system in 10 minutes. Not partially, not temporarily, fully. This is how you return to clarity. This is how you return to composure. This is how you return to power. You now know the reset. You now understand the method. But the real question is, how do you use it in daily life? Because theory is nothing without application, and application is nothing without repetition. In the next chapter, you will learn the real secret. The secret that separates emotional beginners from emotional masters. Integration, how to install the reset into your identity. You've learned the technique. Now you will learn how to make it automatic. Next chapter, the identity of calm. Installing the reset into your daily life. Chapter 6, the identity of calm. Installing the reset into your daily life. Mastery does not happen when you learn a technique. Mastery happens when the technique becomes part of who you are. Anyone can calm down once. Anyone can reset once. Anyone can be centered once. But the real power, the power you came here for, is becoming someone who remains grounded regardless of the situation. Not sometimes. Not when life is easy. Not when things go your way. But always. Under pressure, under conflict, under uncertainty, under stress. This is the level you're moving toward. The 10-minute reset is not just a method, it is an identity. A way of operating, a way of showing up, a way of existing in your own nervous system. In this chapter, you will learn how to embed the reset into your daily life until it becomes automatic, a default response, a subconscious habit, a mental baseline. This is not about more discipline. This is not about more effort. This is not about remembering a list of steps. This is about integration, about installing a new mental operating system, about becoming the kind of person whose emotional state no longer betrays them. Let's begin. Identity first. Action follows. Most people approach emotional control backwards. They start with behavior. They start with action. They try to force discipline on top of an identity that does not support it, but identity always wins. Identity always overrides action. Identity always returns you to your baseline. If you see yourself as reactive, your actions will eventually become reactive. If you see yourself as anxious, your behavior will match the anxiety. If you see yourself as overwhelmed, your habits will reflect the overwhelm. So here is the rule. Identity drives behavior, not the other way around. You cannot practice emotional control if you still identify as someone who loses control. You cannot practice calm if you still identify as someone who is volatile. You cannot practice groundedness if you still identify as someone who is easily triggered. To install the reset into your life, you must shift identity first. So the question becomes, who do you want to be? Not what you want to do. Not what you want to achieve. Not what you want to stop feeling. Who? A calm person. A grounded person. A person who thinks clearly under stress. A person who does not collapse under pressure. A person who responds instead of reacts. Say it with strength. I'm someone who stays calm. Identity is the anchor. Everything else is built on top of it. Now we move to the next layer. Rituals create identity. Micro behaviors. Macro impact. Identity is built through repetition, not intention. You become calm because you practice calmness. You become grounded because you repeatedly choose grounding. You become emotionally stable because your daily rituals reinforce that stability. You do not install the reset by using it only in emergency moments. You install it by using micro versions of it throughout your day. This is the secret. Small resets create permanent calm. Here are the 3 micro rituals. 1. The 3-second physical reset. This is the miniature version of the physical layer. Do it 5 to 10 times a day. 3 steps. Exhale slowly. Drop your shoulders. Loosen the jaw. 3 seconds. This interrupts your nervous system's autopilot stress response. Do it before replying to a message. Do it before entering a room. Do it before making a decision. Do it before turning on your phone. You are training your body to return to baseline quickly. 2. The one-line mental reset. This is the miniature version of the mental layer. Say one line, "This is noise." It snaps your brain out of interpretation. It stops you from spiraling. It restores cognitive distance. Use it when you catch yourself overthinking. Use it when you feel rushed. Use it when your mind starts predicting the worst. One line. Instant clarity. 3. The 5-word emotional reset. This is the miniature version of the emotional layer. Name your emotional state in 5 words or fewer. Feeling pressure right now. Feeling frustrated but calm. Feeling anxious but aware. This prevents emotional stacking, the process where one emotion triggers another and another until you're overwhelmed. You stop the stack. You break the chain. You regain power. Micro rituals done repeatedly create a macro transformation. Say it clearly. Repetition trains identity. The rule of interruption. The moment that changes everything. You will not always catch your emotions early. You will not always catch your thoughts before they spiral. You will not always catch your body before it escalates. That is normal. The real power is the interruption, the moment you break the pattern, the moment you stop the escalation, the moment you say, "Not this time." Interruption is emotional self-defense. You are not aiming for perfection. You are aiming for authority. Authority means, even if the storm begins, you stop it, you reset, you regain ground. Say it. I interrupt what no longer serves me. This is how you reclaim your emotional territory, the myth of consistency. You don't need to be perfect. Here is a truth you must internalize deeply. Consistency does not mean never failing. Consistency means never quitting. You will have days where you forget the method. You will have moments where you lose control. You will have situations where your emotions win. This does not matter. It does not undo your progress. It does not redefine your identity, because identity is not shaped by the moments you fail. Identity is shaped by the moments immediately after failure. The moment you return. Say it. I return quickly. That is consistency. That is mastery. That is growth. You are not building perfection. You are building permanence. Automation. When the reset becomes who you are. There comes a point, after enough resets, after enough interruptions, after enough micro-rituals, where something extraordinary happens. You stop practicing emotional control, because it becomes your default. Your voice becomes calmer, your decisions become clearer, your thinking becomes sharper, your reactions slow down, your presence strengthens, people notice, your environment shifts. The way you respond to life changes. You no longer seek calm. You carry calm. You radiate calm. You are calm. This is the ultimate transformation. The reset becomes automatic. The reset becomes integrated. The reset becomes identity, and identity is unbeatable. You are no longer the same person. By now, you are not who you were at the beginning of this book. Your emotional system has shifted. Your mental operating system has changed. Your behavioral patterns have evolved. You have learned how to calm the body, how to silence the noise, how to transform emotion, how to install the reset into your identity, how to practice micro-rituals that reinforce control, how to interrupt emotional spirals, how to automate calm as a daily baseline. This is the groundwork. This is the foundation. This is the beginning of a completely new internal life. In the next chapter, we go deeper into the real battlefield, your environment, your relationships, your triggers, your stress sources. Now that you have built internal control, you will learn how to apply it in the real world, where chaos, pressure, and provocation are constant. You are ready. Chapter 7. Stop apologizing for existing. There is a habit you carry that you don't even notice. A tiny habit. A quiet habit. A deadly habit. You apologize for everything. For speaking. For asking. For wanting. For existing. This chapter is not about politeness. It's not about social etiquette. It's about the identity you reinforce every time you say, "Sorry, when you haven't done anything wrong. It's about the message you're sending to your brain. My presence is a burden. You must stop that message now because it is breaking you more than anxiety ever could. Today, you will rebuild the truth. Today, you will learn to exist without permission, and you will repeat this lesson until it overrides the old story. You apologize because you've been trained to shrink. This did not start yesterday. It did not start with adulthood. It started early. Someone taught you, directly or indirectly, that the safest person is the smallest person, the quiet one, the agreeable one, the one who doesn't disturb, and so you learned to say sorry as a survival strategy. It was your shield, your way of avoiding conflict, rejection, disappointment, judgment. But here's the truth you've avoided for years. You don't need that shield anymore. You are no longer the child who needed to survive a world bigger than them. You're an adult trying to operate with an outdated script. Your apology habit is not humility, it is fear wearing politeness as a costume. And now you will rewrite that script. Your apology habit kills confidence at its root. Every unnecessary apology sends a message into your nervous system. I'm wrong. I'm at fault. I'm less than. I'm the problem. Your brain listens, your identity listens, and after thousands of repetitions, the message becomes automatic. You apologize before you think. You apologize before you even feel wrong. You apologize because your body expects it. But here is the crucial turn. You can retrain your nervous system the same way it was conditioned. You can reverse the signal. You can build a new identity. This is the key. This is the shift. This is the moment you stop reinforcing weakness and start reinforcing authority. From this point forward, your brain will hear a new message. My presence is legitimate. My voice has weight. I am allowed to take up space. Say it again. You're allowed to take up space. Replace apologies with clarity. Here is where transformation becomes practical. Simple, controllable, repeatable. Every time you feel the old apology rise in your throat, you will do one thing. Replace it. Replace sorry for asking with here's what I need. Replace sorry to bother you with I have a question. Replace sorry I don't want to be a problem with let's fix this. Replace sorry for existing with silence, the strongest form of confidence. This is behavioral training. This is identity rewiring. This is emotional reprogramming in real time. Remember, your words teach your brain how powerful you are, and every replacement reinforces the new identity. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Good. It should. You are breaking a habit that has lived in your nervous system for years. Discomfort is the sound of chains snapping. You owe the world presence, not apology. Let me give you a truth you may not want to accept. You do not inspire respect when you shrink. You inspire convenience. People treat you like you treat yourself. If you position yourself as a problem, they will treat you like one. If you position yourself as a person with value, they will respond with attention and respect. Presence demands presence in return. Strength invites strength. Authority awakens authority. But apology invites dominance. It invites dismissal. It invites people to overlook you because you overlook yourself. You want people to take you seriously. Then stop narrating yourself as a disturbance. This is the turning point. This is the upgrade. This is the moment you step out of the "I'm sorry" identity and into the "I deserve to be here" identity. No more apologies for your existence. Your existence is not a mistake. The 30-day no apology challenge, the transformation engine. For the next 30 days, you will follow one rule. No unnecessary apologies.
0. You will track every moment you almost say it. You will track every moment you stop yourself. You will track every moment you replace it with clarity. This is not a suggestion. This is training. This is rewiring. This is emotional strength, built repetition by repetition.
The brain rewires through frequency, not intensity. 10 small identity shifts are stronger than one explosive moment. This is how you build the new you, one replacement at a time. Remember this sentence and repeat it daily. My presence is not a burden. Say it until you believe it. Say it until you feel it. Say it until your nervous system adopts it as truth. Because it is truth. The silence test. Reclaiming space without apology. Here is a technique that will change you immediately. The silence test. When someone interrupts you, when someone questions you, when someone doubts you, when someone gives you a strange look, do nothing. Do not apologize. Do not shrink. Do not over-explain. Hold the silence, just for 2 seconds. 2 powerful, controlled seconds. Those 2 seconds will teach your brain something radical. You don't need to justify your existence. Your nervous system learns best from experience. When you survive silence without collapsing into apology, the old identity dies a little more, and the new identity grows. You're not removing politeness. You're removing self-erasure. Let's clarify the biggest misunderstanding. This chapter is not telling you to become rude. It is telling you to become real. Apologizing unnecessarily is not kindness. It is self-erasure. You can be respectful without being submissive. You can be gracious without shrinking. You can be kind without apologizing for breathing. This is not about ego. This is about balance. A balanced person does not apologize for existing. A balanced person does not shrink to make room for others. A balanced person stands clearly, calmly, fully. You will become that person. Final reinforcement, the identity shift. Repeat this to yourself at the end of this chapter. I will not apologize for existing. Say it again. Say it with breath. Say it with authority. Your presence is not a disruption. Your voice is not noise. Your needs are not inconvenient. This is your new identity. A person who stands in their own space without collapsing into apology. And now that you've learned to claim your space, now that you've learned to stop shrinking, you're ready for the next truth. You've reclaimed your presence. Now let's talk about the approval addiction that's been controlling your decisions. Chapter 8. Stop chasing permission. There is a force silently running your life. A force so old, so familiar, so normalized that you barely notice it anymore. It controls your decisions. It shapes your actions. It limits your ambition. It slows your growth. It is the addiction to permission. You have built your world around waiting, waiting for approval, waiting for validation, waiting for someone to tell you, yes, you're allowed. But here's a truth you've avoided for years. No one is coming to give you permission. No one will hand you your life. No one will authorize your potential. And because you've been waiting, you've been stuck. Today, that ends. Today, You reclaim authority over your own direction. Today, you stop being the person who needs permission, and you become the person who gives permission to themselves. This chapter will be uncomfortable. Good. It should be. It is the chapter where your excuses die. You seek permission because someone trained you to doubt yourself. This behavior started long before you realized it. You were trained to ask before acting, taught to check before trying, encouraged to hesitate before choosing. And so you grew up learning one message. Someone else knows better than I do. You internalized it. You reinforced it. You repeated it until it became automatic. But let me give you the truth you've been avoiding. You're not a child anymore. You don't need anyone to approve your steps. You don't need anyone to justify your decisions. Your life is yours. Your direction is yours. Your timing is yours. But you've forgotten that, and repetition has made your hesitation feel natural. Today, we break that illusion. Permission addiction disguises itself as caution. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're being thoughtful. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment. But the truth is simpler and harsher. You're scared of being wrong. So you wait for someone else to confirm that the path is safe. You wait for someone to guarantee that the outcome will be comfortable. You wait for someone to validate your choice so you can blame them if it fails. This is the real reason. This is the one you don't admit. Permission is a shield from responsibility, and as long as you hold on to the shield, you will never feel powerful. This is the key moment. You must choose responsibility over permission. You must choose action over approval. You must choose your voice over their expectation. It's time. When you chase permission, you shrink your destiny. Read this carefully. Every time you wait for approval, you shrink your future. Opportunities do not wait for the hesitant. Dreams do not belong to the cautious. Power is never given to the passive. You lose the job because you didn't speak. You lose the chance because you didn't step. You lose the moment because you didn't act. This isn't bad luck. This isn't timing. This isn't fate. This is hesitation disguised as humility. And hesitation is the silent killer of potential. If you want a different life, you cannot operate with the identity of someone who needs permission to move. You cannot build a future while clinging to the expectations of the past. You must walk. You must decide. You must claim. This is the moment where your life begins to expand again. The question that changes everything. Who am I waiting for? Ask this question every day, every hour, every decision. Who am I waiting for? Who must approve your dream? Who must welcome your ambition? Who must confirm your ideas? Who must authorize your next step? Name them, picture them, and then ask yourself, why do they hold the authority that should belong to me? This question will expose a truth you've ignored. No one actually has the power you give them. You handed it to them. You can take it back. This realization is the birth of your internal authority. The moment you recognize that the gatekeeper you fear is imaginary. No more waiting, no more seeking, no more deferring. The only person who can grant permission for your life is the one living your life. You stop asking, start declaring. This chapter is not about rebellion. It is about leadership, self-leadership. From this point forward, you will replace every permission-seeking phrase with a declaration. Replace, "Do you think I should?" with, "Here's what I'm doing." Replace, "I'm not sure if this is okay," with, "This is my decision." Replace, "Is it fine if I try?" with, "I am taking the next step now." Replace, "What do you think I should do?" with, "Here's my plan." This is not arrogance. This is ownership. You are not eliminating wisdom. You are eliminating dependency. You are not eliminating guidance. You are eliminating submission. You are not eliminating collaboration. You are eliminating approval, addiction. This is how you evolve. Your life changes the moment you become the one who decides, imagine waking up tomorrow with a different identity. Not the person who hesitates, not the person who checks twice, not the person who needs validation. Imagine waking up as the person who says, I choose, I decide, I lead, I authorize my own direction. Feel the strength in that. Feel the calm, feel the clarity. This is the person you are supposed to become. This is the version of you that has been buried under years of self-doubt and external expectations. And this chapter is the excavation, the unburying, the return. From this point forward, you will practice this sentence daily. I am the authority in my life. Repeat it until your nervous system believes it. Repeat it until your posture changes. Repeat it until your decisions no longer tremble. Because authority is built through repetition, not confidence. The permission reset technique, use it today. Whenever you hesitate, whenever you wait, whenever you shrink, do this. Count down from 3, 2, 1. Act. This interrupts your brain's instinct to search for approval. This disrupts the old pattern. This forces you into the identity of a decision maker. It is simple. It is powerful. It works. Every time you act without waiting, you teach your brain, I don't need permission. This is how identities shift. This is how confidence grows. This is how leadership is built. One action at a time. Final reinforcement. The internal authority is awake. Say this with me. I do not wait for permission. Again, stronger, with breath. You do not need their approval. You do not need their validation. You do not need their confirmation. Your future does not belong to the person you once were. It belongs to the person you decide to become. Now you have reclaimed your space. And now you have reclaimed your authority. The next chapter will complete the transformation. You've stopped chasing permission. Now it's time to break the deepest trap of all, the emotional story you keep repeating. Chapter 9. Rewrite your internal narrative. Your life is shaped by a story you didn't choose, a story you didn't question, a story you've been repeating so long that you mistake it for truth. That story lives inside your mind. It guides your reactions. It shapes your emotions. It limits your potential. And here is the truth you've ignored for years. Your story is not a fact. Your story is a habit. If you want a new life, you don't start by changing your environment. You don't start by changing your goals. You don't start by changing your habits. You start by changing your story. Because until you rewrite the narrative, you will always return to the same identity, the same patterns, the same emotional cycles. This chapter will show you how to reclaim the author's pen. This is where you stop living a recycled script and start living a designed one. Let's begin. Your current narrative was programmed, not chosen. Think about it. How many of your beliefs came from your own reasoning? How many came from experience? And how many were simply absorbed? From family, from culture, from school, from failure, from past pain. You're not enough. You're too late. You're too emotional. You're too quiet. You're too intense. You're not talented. You're not capable. You're supposed to stay small. These sentences didn't come from you. They were installed into you, and through repetition, they became your narrative. Not truth. Narrative. Not reality, interpretation. Not destiny. Programming. This chapter is where you delete the script. Narratives are self-fulfilling loops. Here's how it works. You believe a story. You behave according to the story. Your behavior reinforces the story. Your brain says, see, that's who I am. This is why change feels impossible. Not because you lack ability, but because you are trapped inside a loop you never questioned. Let me tell you something powerful. You're not fighting your circumstances. You are fighting your narrative about your circumstances. Most people spend years trying to change their life without ever changing the story that determines what they believe is possible. That ends today. To change your narrative, you must confront it. You cannot rewrite what you refuse to examine. So ask yourself, brutally, honestly, what is the story I keep telling myself? Is it the story of the victim, the story of the failure, the story of the outsider, the story of the unlucky, the story of the weak, the story of the overthinker, the story of the unworthy? Identify it, write it, see it clearly, bring it into the light, because once you see your narrative, you regain control. Invisible stories control you. Visible stories can be rewritten. Awareness is step 1. Leadership is step 2. Here is the key. Replace the narrative. Don't argue with it. You cannot fight your old story into silence. You cannot debate it. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot overpower it through will alone. The brain does not delete narratives. The brain replaces narratives. So your job is not to resist the old story. Your job is to install a new one, a stronger one, a more disciplined one, a narrative aligned with your future, not your past. 3 sentences can rebuild your identity. I am capable. I am responsible. I am becoming stronger every day. Repeat them daily. Repeat them loudly. Repeat them until your nervous system starts believing them. Repetition is how programming is installed. This is your upgrade. Your new narrative must be action-based. Do not choose a story that is only inspirational. Choose a story that directs behavior. Not I am powerful, but I take powerful actions. Not I am confident, but I act with clarity even when afraid. Not I am disciplined, but I follow through on what I decide. Narratives that change your life are not emotional. They are actionable. Remember, identity follows action, not emotion. When you act differently, you become different. When you become different, you believe differently. When you believe differently, your narrative shifts. This is the loop reversed. This is how you take control. Your emotional patterns come from your narrative. Why do you overreact? Because your story tells you that every threat is danger. Why do you panic? Because your story tells you that you cannot handle the situation. Why do you freeze? Because your story tells you that mistakes lead to punishment. Why do you chase validation? Because your story tells you that you're not enough on your own. When you change your narrative, your emotions follow. When your emotions change, your behavior shifts. When your behavior shifts, your entire life restructures around the new identity. This is why this chapter matters. It is the chapter where you stop being controlled by old emotional scripts. Rewrite the narrative in 3 steps. 1. Identify the false story. Write down the sentence that has limited you for years. Name it. Expose it. 2. Break its authority. Ask, who gave this story to me, and why is it still in my life? Most narratives collapse under this question. They lose their power because they were never yours. 3. Install the new narrative through action. Not through hope, not through motivation, through consistent, disciplined action. Action rewrites identity. Identity rewrites narrative. Narrative rewrites destiny. This is the order. This is the method. Here is your new story. Say it. I am the author now. Again. Stronger. With conviction. You are not the character anymore. You are the writer. You are the editor. You are the architect of your own meaning. Your past does not decide. Your fear does not decide. Your habits do not decide. You decide. And you decide now. Final reinforcement. The old story is dead. Feel it. A chapter of your life ending. A new identity taking shape. A new narrative forming. You no longer speak from your wounds. You no longer speak from your doubt. You no longer speak from your fear. You speak from leadership. You speak from clarity. You speak from strength. Your narrative is no longer a prison. It is now a weapon, a tool, a compass, and your future expands because of it. You have rewritten your story. Now it's time for the final transformation. Becoming the person who acts without internal resistance. Chapter 10. The Discipline of Follow-Through. This is the chapter everything has been building toward. The chapter where theory becomes action, where identity becomes behavior, where intention becomes reality. You've learned how to reset your emotions. You've learned how to break reactivity. You've learned how to install calm. You've learned how to remove external permission. You've learned how to rewrite your internal narrative, but none of it matters. None of it, if you do not follow through. Follow through is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. Follow through is the separator between the dreamers and the disciplined. Follow through is the muscle that turns decisions into results. Most people fail, not because they lack intelligence, talent, motivation, or opportunity. They fail because they don't follow through. They start but don't complete. They promise but don't deliver. They decide but don't act. They act but don't sustain. And here is the truth you already know. Your life is not defined by what you begin. Your life is defined by what you maintain. This chapter will hardwire that discipline into your identity. Follow through is a choice, not a personality trait. You're not naturally inconsistent. You are not just like that. You are not cursed with chaos or procrastination or distraction. You have simply repeated a pattern long enough that it feels like identity, but it is not identity. It is habit, and habits can change. Let me give you the sentence that will rewire your relationship with discipline. The moment I decide, it becomes a commitment. Not a wish. Not a possibility. Not a vague intention. A commitment. Most people treat decisions like suggestions. You will treat decisions like contracts. Contracts with yourself. Contracts you do not break. This is the foundation of follow-through. The enemy of follow-through is emotional negotiation. You know the voice. I don't feel like it. I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right time. I'm too tired. I'll do it when I'm more motivated. I'll wait for things to settle down. This voice has stolen months from you, years, maybe decades. From this moment forward, you no longer negotiate with your emotions. You no longer let mood decide your actions. You no longer let discomfort slow your steps. Remember this sentence. Discipline is acting independent of emotion. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need to feel confident. You need to follow through. Your emotions do not direct you. Your decisions direct you. That is the core of disciplined living. Follow through is built by removing friction, not adding pressure. Most people think discipline means pushing harder, forcing themselves, grinding relentlessly. That is why they burn out. Real discipline is not about pressure. It is about structure. Follow through becomes easy when the path is clear, when the steps are simple, when the routine is predictable. So here is the formula. Reduce the number of steps, reduce the number of decisions, reduce the amount of friction, increase consistency. This is why athletes, CEOs, creators, and leaders ritualize everything. They remove the need to think. They remove the need to negotiate. They remove the possibility of delay. Do the same. Simplify your commitments. Narrow your focus. Automate your behaviors. Create rules you follow without question. Rules create rhythm. Rhythm creates momentum. Momentum creates follow-through. Consistency is not built by doing more. It's built by doing daily. People fail because they sprint, they push too hard. They overwhelm themselves. They try to transform overnight. But mastery is not built through intensity. Mastery is built through repetition. Repetition is the force that changes identity. Repetition is the force that wires discipline into your nervous system. Repetition is the force that builds unshakable follow-through. Ask yourself, what can I do every day, even on the worst day? That is your true discipline. Not the dramatic effort, not the explosive burst, not the emotional high, the daily baseline. Because success is not built by occasional greatness. Success is built by consistent baseline execution. This is how professionals operate. This is how disciplined people rise. This is how you hardwire follow-through. When you break commitments to yourself, you destroy trust in yourself. Let me say it plainly. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, you teach your brain a painful lesson. I can't trust myself. Once that belief is installed, your confidence collapses, your motivation collapses, your ambition collapses. You cannot feel powerful if you constantly betray your own word. So from today onward, you live by one rule. I do not break promises to myself. Not because it's easy, not because it's convenient, because it is who you are becoming, the person who follows through, the person who completes, the person who finishes, the person whose actions match their words. This is the identity you are building. The 3-minute follow-through technique, use it now. Whenever you feel resistance, delay, or hesitation, apply this. 1. Stop everything. 2. Breathe slowly for 10 seconds. 3. Do 3 minutes of the task. Just 3. Why 3? Because starting is the hardest part, and once you start, you rarely stop. You don't need motivation. You need momentum. Momentum is created through micro-action. Action destroys resistance. Action builds discipline. Action fuels follow-through. This simple technique can transform your productivity, your health, your mind, your life. Use it. Daily. Religiously. Follow-through is not about perfection. It is about returning. You will slip. You will miss a day. You will fall short. But disciplined people do not stay down. Disciplined people do not collapse at the first failure. Disciplined people do not surrender their identity because of one mistake. Remember this: one failure does not break consistency. Quitting does. You are allowed to stumble, but you return. You are allowed to fall, but you rise. You are allowed to fail, but you continue. This is follow-through, not perfection. Persistence. Final reinforcement. This is the identity of completion. You are no longer the person who delays. You're no longer the person who hesitates. You are no longer the person who breaks promises. You are the person who finishes, the person who sustains, the person whose actions match their decisions. You have discipline, you have direction, you have momentum, and now you have follow-through. You are building a life you can trust, a mind you can trust, a future you can trust. This chapter doesn't end here. It becomes your daily practice. You have built the discipline of follow-through. You've walked through 10 chapters, 10 shifts, 10 decisions that can reset your entire emotional life. You learned how to interrupt the chaos in your mind, how to stop feeding your anxiety, how to break loops, silence noise, confront pain, and rebuild discipline from the ground up. You learned that your emotions are not rulers. They are signals. You learned that calm is not an accident. It is a choice. And now the truth stands in front of you, clear and undeniable. No one is coming to reset your mind for you. You are the switch. You are the reboot. You are the moment everything changes. Take one breath, take one step. Make one decision that refuses your old patterns and welcomes the new ones you just built. Because the reset doesn't happen when you listen. It happens when you act. So this is your challenge, your final command. Choose the new mind. Choose the new standard. Choose the new you. Start today. Start now. Reboot. That's all for this book. Don't forget to support us with like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.